Hey guys, Kelvin here. And for all you die-hard chess fans out there, you know we are currently playing the 2020 Altibox Norway chess tournament. And so it's the 8th year that they've done it. And currently, Fabiano Caruana is leading with a score of 2-0. So he has 2 wins and no losses. Now, Magnus Carlsen actually has a 2-0 score as well, but he's won his 2 games after drawing and then having to play in Armageddon. So it's just slightly different. The game I wanted to go ahead and take a look at now is first between Alireza Firouzja and Fabiano Caruana. And as you can see, Firouzja has the white pieces and Caruana has the black pieces. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what we got here. All right, cool. All right, so we have knight to f3. We have d5 and g3. And so with g3, we are in the King's Indian attack. It is a pretty popular opening. It's definitely played at pretty much every level of chess. Especially, GM, super GM levels, you're going to pretty much see a lot of them playing, this particular setup. A lot of times you see them playing it as black. It's called the King's Indian defense as black. Anytime a opening is employed as white, it's considered an attack. And when something is deployed as black, it is considered a defense. All right, so we have c5. Now, this specific variation is the King's Indian attack, the Sicilian variation, as you guys can see with the move c5 here. As a lot of you guys know, the Sicilian defense basically is, e4 c5. So, just, taking control of, some center squares. And so, all right, so we have bishop to g2. We have knight to f6. We have castles. G6. Now you see black is, kind of adopting our own King's Indian type of setup. And so we have d4. So if you guys notice, you'll see that pretty much every move that white and black has made has been to control the center of the board. And, naturally as chess players, we know that the most important portion of the board is going to be this center portion here, these center 4 squares. So when you're developing your pieces, you're going to want to be attacking or defending this central, this central area. And then of course, you have these squares here. That's kind of like the extended center. And like I said, you can see that, black has its knight, attacking the center, and the pawns attacking the center. White as well is attacking the center here. Knight's attacking the center. All right, so we have c takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop to g7, and knight to b3. We have knight to c6, knight to c3, and we have e6. Now, if we back up just a touch here, you will notice that, like I said, black defended it with d6. But some of you guys might be out there thinking, well, can't I just push the pawn and, get me a little bit more space here, attack these squares. Now you can do that definitely. So let's go ahead and, let's just go ahead and see what that looks like. So you push pawn here. So, naturally you're thinking, okay, well, this knight now has to move. So you're thinking, okay, the knight has to move here, knight has to move back, maybe you put it on the ram, which, of course you don't want to do with knights. But what white has is actually what's called a Zwischenzug move. It's also known as an in-between move. And it is connected to a tactic called remove the defender. So the first thing you want to insert is you're going to be inserting this move here. And so as you guys can see, this comes with a check. And so, of course, there's only 3 ways for you to take care of a check. It's either move the king out of the way, move a piece in the way, or capture the offending piece. So if we just go ahead and just do one of them. So let's say we, just capture the piece. Now you have queen takes d4. And if you do the pawn count, white has 7 pawns, black has 6 pawns. So we'll go ahead and back up here. All right. So like I said, he defends it with E6. Oops. Okay, let me not. Right. E6. Okay, so we have E4 castles. So as you see, both sides have castled their kings. They got their kings safely tucked in the corner, which is something you definitely want to do real soon. We have E takes D5, knight takes D5. We have knight to E4. Now, some of you might be looking at the position right here and are thinking, well, wait a minute, So we have knight to D5. We have the knight here attack 3 times, and it's only defended by the queen and by the pawn. So can't you win a pawn? So let's go ahead and take a look and see what that looks like. So we'll just do the series of trades. Knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, bishop takes. I'm thinking, okay, cool, I just won a pawn, right? Not quite, not quite. Because of this move, you have knight to B4. Now, your bishop is in kind of a sticky situation here. And so, you're thinking, well, where do you move it? Of course, you can move it to any one of these squares here. Or, even back to originally where it came from. But your problem is this square here. And that's what the knight is currently attacking. So, naturally, you're going to want to make this move here. But then, unfortunately, you have this move, which develops the rook into an open file and attacks the bishop. So now, of course, the bishop really only has one square to go to if you're still trying to hold on to that pawn, and it's going to be here. So then after the trades, now you're left with this position. Now you're currently a pawn up, but this pawn is going to be a pawn that is going to be heavily attacked. It's going to be a little bit hard to defend. So it's kind of coming with a little bit of a cost there. So back up here. Okay. All right. And then so now we have knight to E5. We have H4, and right here is a novelty. And that means that we're in a position that has never been reached before. It's not in any database. Of course, like I said before, the King's Indian Sicilian is definitely been seen many times, but this move has not been seen. And that's actually a pretty common concept. Anytime you have a fianchetto on either side, you'll very regularly see like an A4 or an H4 or something like that. So this is definitely nothing new. As far as this particular position goes, it is new. But, the goal is to try to push this pawn to H5. Give yourself a hook, trying to, create trades and create lines and diagonals for your pieces and stuff like that. So we have H6, which basically stops it. Queen to E2. Now with Queen to E2, of course, it's pretty obvious you're intending to, swing rook over and, try to see if you can, pin it and win it as far as this knight is concerned. So the queen just goes ahead and sidesteps that. We have rook to D1. Just getting your rook on a, on an open file here. We have A5. Trying to push this knight to a less desirable square. So you have knight to E4. A little interesting setup here with the knights in the middle of the board. All right, so we have bishop to D7, A4. Now basically this move with Black's series of moves, he's wanting to push B5. You're wanting to gain space and attack and stuff like that. So this move A4 is putting a real clamp on this square here. So it makes B5 considerably less desirable. So we have rook A to D1. We have rook to A3. All right, knight to B4, attacking the rook. We swing the rook over. Now, if you guys have noticed this particular maneuver with the rook, it is called a rook lift. And so there's a few different ways that you can reach this position. So if we just kind of go back, make some random moves, right? You can maybe do something like this. Maybe let's just make a random move for Black. Move up like that. Make another random move. Go there. So as you notice, you have the open file here, the open D file. So, you want both your rooks on that. And so that's just a little different way you could have done it. But backing up here. Okay, swing the rook back over. All right. And we have knight to E5, attacking the rook, kind of, dislodging it from where it just placed itself. So, naturally at this point, you have the A pawn that is, under fire. So you need to take care of that. So you just, move rook back over. Rook F to E8, knight back to C3, queen to C4, knight takes, pawn takes, move the queen over. Bishop to G4, F3, kicking the bishop back. Bishop to F1, attacking the queen, making it back up. Queen to F2, knight to C4, and then rook to D3. And so you notice that the rook has gotten back to its desirable square, and so the rook lift is completed. And you'll notice earlier that knight takes D5 was necessary because after rook to E7, you have B3. And so if you notice, there is a big hole now on this square on C3. And so naturally, before you couldn't have played B3 because it would have left a really bad hole here. And then the knight would have been able to jump in, and queen, everything would have been kind of, bearing down on this. And then, dark square the bishop would have had, rain on everywhere. So we have knight back to E5, rook down, rook 3 to D2, rook D to E8, bishop to B2. Now, something I want you to pay attention here is the pawn structure for white. Now, if you'll notice, so we have these pawns here. And if you'll notice, as far as the knight is concerned, the knight, to try to penetrate into white's position, it has these squares that it can go to, right? So if you notice, like I said, with the pawn structure, black doesn't have the ability to do that. Now, okay, there we go. And so one of the things you want to try to focus on when you're playing is you definitely want to attack, but you do want to restrict the movement of the other side as much as possible. So that's trying to restrict the types of squares that knights can go to. Try to reduce the effectiveness of a bishop. Maybe putting pawns in the way, making the structure so that the bishop isn't as strong as it would be if it's having rain all over the board. So let's go. We got H. We got G5. H takes. Bishop back to A1, and you have queen to B6. Okay, so king to G2. Now, normally, when you have your king and your queen on a certain color diagonal, and that other player has the that colored bishop, it's a good idea to get your king off of that same diagonal. So that way you don't have any, possibilities. Let's say the bishop coming here and, your queen is, pinned to your king. So, like I said, generally it's a good idea, for that to be. So we have queen to G6, king to G1, queen back to B6, king back to G2, queen back to G6, and we are repeating, and we have a draw by repetition. Now, something I want you to take a look at is, let's go ahead and back up a few moves. And notice the position after this. Now, like I said before, generally it's a good thing for you to do to move your king off of your, the same diagonal as your queen. So there aren't any tactics and stuff involved. But in this particular position, Caruana actually missed a pretty strong continuation that gives black a pretty good advantage, and it is this move here, queen to H6. Now, if you notice, queen to H6, it very much exploits the H file, and so, for example, we have the queen, controlling this open file. We have the bishop coming down, and then if you notice, we have these rooks controlling this open file over here as well. So a possible continuation could be something like, let's see, trying to free some space, and you have bishop, or let's back up here. You have king back to G1 to prevent this check here. And then now you have a move F5 coming. And so if you notice with this, I mean, you have, you're starting to break apart this, put king's protection and stuff. So let's see here. We'll have, trying to clear some space, you'll have bishop B5. And then you'll have knight back. And then you'll notice that the rooks, like I said before, are coming down and preventing any movement on this E file. And so you might have something like this, for example. And then we have that. And so like I said before, as you notice, the queen is bearing down on this file. The bishop is bearing down on this diagonal. And the rooks are controlling this diagonal. Then, at some point, you get the bishop into play. Everything is just converging. So if you notice the position we have, all of black's pieces are together in the attack of white. And if you'll notice the white pieces here, they're kind of off sides on the queen side and not really, defending the king very well. So it's a slightly better position for black. But yeah, so that is the round 3 Alireza Firouzja versus Fabiano Caruana, in which they drew the game. I appreciate it, guys. If you have any suggestions of any games you'd like for me to analyze in the future, definitely leave a comment and let me know. So until next time, you guys have a good day. Appreciate it.